Before and after the Prime Minister won the confidence vote, Boris Johnson and his allies have been making his case in a range of ways.
The one thing we all believe in is democracy. That was a ballot. The Prime Minister won handsomely.
A handsome win, says Mr Zahawi. The Prime Minister did take 59% of the votes, though the electorate was Boris Johnson's own MPs. Nonetheless, Foreign Office Minister James Cleverly called this a clear win. He tweeted the result was a greater percentage than in his initial leadership competition. That's a reference to the leadership election of 2019. It was a very different process. There were multiple stages before Tory members eventually chose the winner. In a final ballot of Tory MPs, Boris Johnson got 51%, which is lower than 59% on Monday night. But as BBC Reality Check notes, in 2019 it was a choice between three candidates, whereas in Monday's vote it was just a choice between confidence and no confidence. Not the same thing. And while some Tories emphasised the size of Mr Johnson's victory, before the result, Cabinet Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg said a win would be a win.
This is a democracy. In a democracy, if you win by one vote, you have won.
Are you seriously saying if he wins by one vote, his authority will be intact and he will be able to continue as leader of your party and Prime Minister?
Yes.
The margin of victory was bigger than one. And for Mr Johnson's Downing Street team, work began early on Tuesday morning with an email. The BBC's political editor, Chris Mason, reports the press release from Number 10 pinged at 6:02 this morning. It might as well have been headlined, "Let's talk about something, anything else." Well, it was actually headlined, "Prime Minister vows to continue delivering on what matters to the British public." The release listed priorities: easing financial pressure on families, making access to NHS care quicker and easier, making the streets safer, levelling up and uniting the country. Uniting his party is also on Mr Johnson's mind. In a letter to Conservative MPs before the vote, he wrote, "I'm absolutely confident that if we can unite in the days ahead, then in due course we will win again." Party unity, though, remains a work in progress. But today, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss was focused on policy.
What we've been doing today is getting on with the business of government. We've had a cabinet meeting. We're working on making housing more affordable, making childcare more affordable, lowering taxes.
Currently, the UK has the highest tax burden since the late 1940s. Lowering taxes, though, is frequently emphasised by Mr Johnson's allies, and the overall message is this: we are going to get on with the job. And while Mr Johnson is keen to look forwards, he's also turned to the media's part in this story.
What this gives us is the opportunity to put behind us all the stuff that I know the media have quite properly wanted to focus on for a very long time.
That was after the result. Before it, in that letter to Tory MPs, the Prime Minister had said we can put an end to the media's favourite obsession. If that's Mr Johnson's characterisation, this was one Conservative MP describing the media's role in the Prime Minister's situation.
What people see it is a witch hunt led by the BBC.
The media has been a focus of Mr Johnson's allies. So too has the 2019 general election.
The Prime Minister has an 80-seat majority. He's got a democratic mandate that he needs to fulfil.
The argument being that the rebels are disrupting what the electorate voted for. 2019 was no doubt a major triumph for Mr Johnson, but the UK elects MPs who then form governments. It doesn't directly elect leaders, and the system allows for prime ministers to change at any point. Theresa May, David Cameron, Tony Blair, Margaret Thatcher, all for very different reasons, left office between elections. Now, of course, Boris Johnson doesn't want to follow suit, and his impressive electoral track record means his allies argue change at the top risks losing the next election. The Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Simon Clarke, tweeted, "A Labour, Scottish National Party, Lib Dem coalition would be an absolute disaster. It's in our hands whether to enable it." Now, we can't, of course, know the result of the next election or the impact of whether Boris Johnson stays or goes. But for now, in theory, there can't be another vote of confidence for a year. And to suggestions the Tories could perhaps change those rules, Dominic Raab says,
"Fiddling the rules when you don't like the result is a bad look. Again, more Westminster navel-gazing, more internal conversation. That's not the right direction that we should take."
But rule changes or not, whatever the direction of travel, the variety of arguments we've heard for the Prime Minister illustrate that the pressure remains. Harry Cole's the political editor of The Sun. He tweeted, "Tory minister on the great escapologist Boris Johnson's chances of survival. Even Harry Houdini died eventually." The Prime Minister, though, does have a remarkable lack of riding out political storms, and there's no sign he thinks his luck has run out. While The Telegraph, the paper for whom Mr Johnson was a columnist, ran the headline, "Hollow Victory tears Tories apart," hours later in Cabinet, this was the message.
We're able now to draw a line under the issues that our opponents want to talk about, and we're able to get on with talking about what I think the people of this country want us to talk about.
But for all the talk of drawing lines and getting on, the test now is whether Boris Johnson's MPs will let him do that.